Thal.
At Audion Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
You're tuned in to Money Matters Boston, 1120 AM WBNW. This is WBNW 1120 AM, the Money Matters Radio Network. This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston, the Money Matters Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Jake Auchincloss are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
I was 24 when I had a stroke.
I was 35 when I suffered a heart attack.
I was 46.
I was 62.
It's a fact. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in women.
But we can fight against our number one killer.
Talk to your doctor about your risk factors.
Know your family history.
Learn the warning signs and symptoms.
Together,
let's go red for women.
Visit goredforwomen.org to learn more.
As a busy mom, my to-do list is full.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
Visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
When it comes to estate planning, many families focus on taxes, but understanding how your family will receive the assets you leave behind is just as important. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and have a new guide out called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. The guide explains decisions that may be problematic, such as adding a child as a joint donor on a real estate property, which could expose your assets to creditors or a possible divorce. You'll also learn how trusts can be used to help protect your assets and control when your beneficiaries receive their inheritance. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we've got a guide out this month titled Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. And really, Mike, we're talking about, a set of documents that someone needs in the event that something really bad happens to them. And one of the questions that family members and friends always ask is, who should I call if that happens? And this binder should have that information in it.
Yeah, it's designed to be that one-stop shopping of, hey, what do I go for? Any number of different things that could happen, right? I mean, it could be an accident that lands me in the hospital. It could, unfortunately, be my passing. But you want a consolidated place where loved ones can go to try and find, hey, what are my first points of contact that I should make?
what are those points of contact that should make their way into this binder?
Well, I think importantly, tax preparation, estate planning, and financial advice are three of the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head. The problem is, who does that and how spread out it is varies dramatically person to person, right?
Sure.
If I have 5 different bank accounts for different things, that is going to be more complicated than if I have a single bank account at a single place and then an investment advisor that's overseeing all of the investments. But again, your results could vary.
Folks, the guide this month is titled Building Your Emergency Financial Binder, and it has all this information and more in it to make sure that you are leaving a comprehensive guide for what happens if you're going through an emergency. Way to get this guide? Call 800-393-4001, or you can also request it at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
It is Chuck, Paul, and Tucker with you here today, and busy show, so we're going to dive right into it. We'll kick things off talking about where the rubber is meeting the road when it comes to energy shortages that are starting to pop up in additional costs for companies. And actually, we're not going to start where the rubber meets the road, Paul. We're going to start where the rubber meets the runway.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Well, actually, it's not.
Not for them, no.
Here's the deal. Airlines are paying more for fuel right now. Mm-hmm. And they have started to pass this on to customers in the form of higher costs, either through additional baggage fees or higher ticket charges, but they're not all the way there yet. And basically what we got from American's earnings report yesterday is, look, number one, earnings for airlines, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they are going to go down in the short term, because most airlines don't really hedge their fuel supply in terms of the price as much as they used to. So yes, when jet fuel prices, go up 50 to 100%, that has a pretty big impact because jet fuel is, as you would expect, one of the major input costs for an airline. So Americans' earnings, not good for the quarter. They're probably not going to be very good for the next 2 to 3 quarters. Like, that's just how it's going to be, even if the Strait of Hormuz is resolved shortly. But the implication that American gave is, look, the way that they're going to deal with this over the next 6 to 9 months, combination of cutting flights and raising fares further. They've estimated, I think it was in the most current quarter, that about 40% of the jet fuel price hike they're able to pass on to customers. They're expecting to get that up to around 100% by the end of this year, as you would expect. And so what are you going to see? Routes that aren't profitable, there are going to be fewer planes flying them, or they're going to stop flying them entirely. Routes that are profitable, they're going to raise prices on those. That's kind of where things are going in the short term. And this is not something that is exclusive to American. Everyone is doing this if you're talking about airlines right now.
Yeah, you're seeing several of them revising guidance or just pulling guidance entirely for the year. American specifically had $4 billion additional in fuel costs over this recent quarter that they just reported. Just like everything else in oil and gas, jet fuel price per gallon has gone up from $2.50 as of like February 27th to about $4.25 a gallon as of about a day or two ago. So their input costs, like you mentioned, have skyrocketed. They are going to be in a tough period of time. And so as a result of that, they're going to have to make changes to their business model with those different areas that you mentioned of cuts or increasing fares. But they have stated, and part of this could be the fact that they're only passing on 40% of the increased costs, but the demand has still been there for now. We'll see what it looks like in a couple quarters of people buying fares.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how these guys figure out, okay, where is the coverage going to come from? One of the things that we've seen the last 5-6 years, there has been a huge propensity for individuals to pay up for premium seating.
Yes.
Is it something where American and Delta and United, all, the airlines that have that, because remember, Southwest does not have first-class cabins. JetBlue has first-class cabins on some flights, but not on nearly all of them. And so the question that I think I would ask that'll be interesting, and we'll be able to see it, is, okay, let's say that you have a flight from Boston or from New York to L.A. You've typically got, 25 first-class seats on that plane or 20 first-class seats on that plane and 150, of us getting the cattle section behind. Okay, are you going to take the prices on those up in the same manner so that your economy class tickets go from $400 to $600 and your first class go from $1,500 to $2,200? Or do you say, and again, like they'll know this, like they'll test out the pricing and figure it out. Or is it, hey, you know what? We've got more room to move on first class, and so we're only going to move up the economy class tickets from $400 to $500, and that additional $15,000 in revenue that we're missing out on, we're going to instead change those first class tickets and move them from $1,500 to $3,000 because that's where consumers are more willing to pay up for it.
Right, and what we've seen is those higher income consumers have been less resistant to anything on the price change side of things or willing to pay the higher prices, whereas that sort of more economy section, they've been hesitant, it feels like, to make significant increases on the pricing side there.
So I think it'll be interesting to see, where they make those pushes. But the other piece of this that you do have to be aware of, and again, it's starting in Europe now, but this is going to come for everywhere, is Europe is on the verge of a jet fuel shortage. Now, a jet fuel shortage does not mean that no airplanes fly. Europe typically imports around 30% of its jet fuel from the Persian Gulf, but so Asia imports a ton of it as well. So basically everyone's like scrambling for jet fuel right now. And so where you are absolutely heading is towards a world where in the short term, and I'll define that as the next 9 to 12 months, if the Strait of Hormuz closure persists, you are going to see widespread flight cancellations throughout the rest of the world, and even, you're going to see sporadic ones in the U.S. as well, simply because jet fuel supplies, if European Airline says, hey, we're going to pay more for that than, someone in the U.S., okay, it's going to get shipped over there.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it's going to go. And so ultimately, if you have flights planned anytime in the next 6 to 12 months, there's a non-zero chance that your flight is going to be canceled.
Sure.
Like you have to prepare for that as a potential eventuality. Things that I think are worthy of consideration that, typically I say like, okay, not worth it. And again, you're going to have to like read all the fine print on any of this stuff. Figure out what's available to you as far as any kind of trip insurance.
Mm-hmm.
There's a decent chance you might not be able to get where you're going for part or all of your trip. Not just if you're flying to Europe, but also if you're flying domestically. Again, like these things are possible. Air Canada is an example. Again, I know this isn't domestic, but this is the kind of stuff that you'll see. They just canceled a bunch of short-haul flights that are not profitable from them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was flights from Toronto to the New York airports. And it's not because people don't want to fly them. They're just like, no, we can't charge enough on this for this to make economic sense. We're not going to fly these flights.
Right.
Again, you might see similar short-haul decisions made in the U.S. Maybe you see flights from Boston to D.C. go from, I don't know, I think there's probably like 60 or 70 of those a day between all the major airlines, down to 30 or 40. Same thing Boston to New York. They don't really make a whole lot of money on those routes. It's just, okay, it supports the rest of the network and everything. So don't be surprised if you see this stuff popping up, because airlines are getting into survival mode for the next several quarters, and they're going to try to figure out how to make this all work.
Yeah, in particular, you mentioned it, Europe, it seems really dire. The IEA stating that they only have about 6 weeks left of supply in Europe, and sort of familiarizing yourself with the jet fuel market, like you were mentioning before, about 1/3 of their imported jet fuel comes from, a lot of it, 75% of that 1/3 comes from the Persian Gulf, and the U.S. has been stepping up and sending basically twice as much in terms of jet fuel barrels a day from here to Europe, but ultimately that's not enough to cover the shortage.
No.
And the export market in general for jet fuel isn't that robust, and when the biggest player is effectively closed for business, there is impacts, and we're going to see them, and we already are. We've talked about on the show yesterday, Lufthansa canceling 20,000 flights, other European carriers taking the same steps, and it's only going to continue to get more dramatic the longer this persists, like you mentioned.
Now, the other place that people will naturally go on this is, okay, like, why don't we restrict the exports of jet fuel so that we don't see similar things
Which
here?
is what China is doing, yeah.
And here's why. Is if the U.S. does that, remember, the U.S., in terms of the oil that we produce an awful lot of oil, but it's not the kind of oil that you need to make heavier fuels in the quantities that you need.
Right.
Think things like diesel and bunker fuel and things like that. So the issue that you run into is if you say, even like on a narrow basis, great, we're not going to export jet fuel because we need to keep it here, then you end up with other countries that produce the oil that you need or refine the stuff that you need into what you need it to be. They say, great, we're not going to send you the bunker fuel that you need or the diesel that you need. Okay, like this becomes a problem where, you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. It doesn't end up working out there. And this is why export bans don't make a ton of sense, because they can have a short-term, positive impact where, great, like the cost of jet fuel in the U.S. is going to go down. Okay, and then the cost of diesel skyrockets because you're not bringing in enough heavy oil to produce it that feeds the refineries along the Gulf Coast. So this is, kind of the dance that you're looking at.
Tangled web we weave.
Yes, very much, indeed. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, do we want to talk anything about diesel, or do we just kind of go through it enough?
I feel like we hit it.
Okay, so we're good on diesel.
It's up a lot.
Let's talk about Tesla. They reported earnings after the bell. We'll discuss them and their robots after this.
Smart financial talk whenever you want. Find the Financial Exchange on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and keep up to date on daily business news from New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Hi, this is Susan Powers from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When it comes to Social Security and Medicare, the decisions you make today can have a lasting impact on your retirement. There are key choices to consider, like when to claim, how spousal and survivor options work, and whether your Medicare coverage is aligned with your needs. And without a clear strategy, it's easy to overlook how taxes, income, and healthcare costs all connect. So join us for a complimentary educational seminar on Thursday, April 30th at 5 p.m. at the Crown Plaza in Woburn. We'll help you understand your options and the decisions that come with them. That's Thursday, April 30th at 5 p.m. at the Crown Plaza in Woburn. Reserve your seat today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001 or register online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. When it comes to leaving assets to your family, simplicity isn't always the best approach. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and their new guide is called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. Adding children as joint owners on accounts or property doesn't guarantee you can avoid probate. It may create serious unintended consequences. In this guide, you'll learn why leaving assets to your children may not always be the best plan. The guide also explains how trusts can be used to stagger distributions over time, help protect assets from creditors or divorce, and ensure your family receives your inheritance in a way that makes sense for your personal situation. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide, How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive. Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. Every walker who joins HeartWalk means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative William Keating are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Like us on YouTube and get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Tesla reported earnings yesterday after the bell. And not really much excitement around the actual earnings. Like, they beat on earnings. They missed very modestly on revenue. Like, it was pretty unremarkable. I mean, there's nothing. Again, it's the company's okay. It's not great. It's not awful. Obviously, it's still worth like $1.5 trillion. But look, you've got a case where revenue for the company has basically been flat since the start of 2023.
Right.
They did $94 billion in revenue through mid-23. They're at $94 billion in revenue for the last 12 months now. Earnings, you have seen one of the things that I think has been good to see as far as just, from, again, kind of a net income perspective, is that, things are showing some signs maybe of stabilizing after declining for the last couple of years. So I think that's, potentially positive that things aren't deteriorating further. They still have, $40 billion in cash sitting on the books right now, so they don't really have a liquidity problem. Free cash flow is okay. It's fine. Like, again, if you want to make a case that the company shouldn't be valued how it is based on the underlying performance, it's fine. The market tells you otherwise. But it's also not something where you look at the company and say, like, it's imminently going to go under or belly up or anything like that. they're really just another automaker with mid-single-digit margins at this point, which is fine. They can be that.
But they get priced like something else.
They get the Elon premium.
Yeah,
Look, they get the Elon premium, which is a thing, and like that's totally fine. Eventually, there's going to be something where Elon, just like all of us, gets old or retires or something happens, and now they're going to have to stand on their own, and that's a whole different question. But they absolutely get an Elon premium, and at age 54, there's nothing to say that Elon can't keep running the company for another 10 or 15 years. At this point, we just saw Tim Cook step down at 65, so that'd be 11 years from now. And that's plenty of time for Elon to get the robots working, which is the next big thing that they're trying to work on at Tesla.
Yeah, you have to be a believer that is really going to be transformational, because otherwise, if you just looked at it as just an auto business, and like you said, no one's ever really done that. I get it. There's the Elon premium there, but the sales of vehicles have declined. They're far from where they were in their peak years in 23 and 24, and this year it doesn't look like there's going to be a tremendous amount of growth there either. They did say that they're going to spend more money this year too, as they pivot into this push for robotics and AI, and then they continue to mention their robotaxi program, which, just to be clear, is really far behind where Waymo is. They've done allegedly about 1.7 million miles of paid rides through the robotaxi. Again, not all of those are autonomous. They had initially people in vehicles supervising. They've backed off a little bit, but there's also been accusations that they lean pretty heavy on some remote driving with their robotaxi vehicles. So bottom line, a long way to go there, where Waymo's done 200 million of pay rides. So like, they're not the market leader in that capacity. I think we can all easily agree on that. There's a lot to be worked out there. It comes down to the humanoid robot push, I guess. And I'm not really sure what their AI sort of market will be or what they're going to do with it, but that's what's being mentioned as the potential turnarounds for the company. Because if you look at it just as an EV, it's a challenging space that they're competing in now.
Yeah, so I think ultimately I am a big believer in that the market as a whole is very much underpricing the impact that robotics is going to have on the world over the next 3 to 5 years. I think there's all kinds of cool stuff that's being done there, and everyone's focusing on like what large language models can do for desk jobs. Mm-hmm. And I think people are missing what's going on in robotics development, both in terms of cost and usefulness, I think is the best way that I would frame it. And so I do think it's going to be a fascinating area to watch develop. I just have, like, I don't know who's good or bad in that segment. Like, who builds the best robots? I don't freaking know. Like, I've never seen a single one of these actually do anything in person. And they're all very expensive. And quite honestly, at least from a personal perspective, I do find them creepy, as much as I think there's big advances being made and we're going to see more of these used. So, like, I don't know who builds the best robots, but who cares? They're going to compete in that landscape. And like most things hardware, let's be honest, it's probably going to end up as a relatively low-margin business consolidated amongst 3 or 4 big companies that have the economies of scale to compete. And that's what it's going to be. Like, robotics is not going to be the one area of hardware where you're like, ooh, I'm going to pay a premium so I can have, like, no, there's a reason why we talk about Apple as being outstanding in the hardware field, is that no one else makes money selling hardware.
It's tough business.
You know, if you want to convince me that when robots become mainstream, that Apple could have the one that people pay a premium for, sure, I'd buy that, because people pay more. I'm the dummy who pays more for his iPhone than buying a Samsung that's better.
Me too.
Okay, and I'm fine with that. But ultimately, no one else makes money selling computer hardware. Why are robots going to be any different?
It's a good question.
Like, no one really makes much money selling cars.
No.
Like, oh, great, let's get into the car business. What are we going to do?
5% margin.
Okay, we're going to sell $185 billion in cars. We're going to make $2 billion on it. Oh, you don't think that's good? Well, that's what GM did last year. Hey, we're Ford. We're going to sell $187 billion worth of cars. What are you going to make on it, dudes? Well, we're going to lose $8 billion. Oh, well, that's not great. Hey, what about you guys, Toyota? You guys sell the most cars out of anyone worldwide, right? Yeah, we sold $337 billion in cars last year. What'd you make on it? $25 billion. Wow, that's great, but it's still an 8% margin. Like, margins in the auto business, they suck for everyone. They're just not good. Like, you basically expect to make like 3 to 5%, and
there's a whole lot of costs that go into it.
It's a commoditized business.
Yep.
That's what it is. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we've got Wall Street Watch, and we're talking private credit after that.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Lori Trahan are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women,
taking the lives of 1 in 3.
That's more than all forms of cancer combined.
For too long, heart disease and stroke have taken the lives of the women we love.
But we're not giving up. Because we have something better.
Stronger, more powerful.
We have each other.
When we come together and go red,
the more power we have against our greatest health threat.
Visit goredforwomen.org today to learn more.
Sudden family emergencies can create confusion, especially when important information is scattered across different accounts. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When something unexpected happens, loved ones may need quick access to legal documents or financial accounts that could affect your future. Our brand new guide is called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. It'll help you learn how to organize the information your family may need one day. Everything from emergency contacts and identification documents to bank accounts and retirement plans. The goal is to create one clear roadmap so that people you trust can quickly find what they need if a crisis occurs. Call 800-393-4001 and request your free guide, Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Let's talk LDL. AKA bad cholesterol. The higher your LDL cholesterol, the higher your risk of a heart attack or stroke. Your health matters. Know your number. Talk to your doctor and get your cholesterol checked. And learn how to help lower your LDL bad cholesterol. Because your health is in your hands. Find out more at heart.org/LDL.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about your brand new guide, Todd, how to leave assets to your beneficiaries. Todd, how can you ensure that your kids' inheritance can be protected from future divorces?
Well, estate planning, as you know, does things like avoid probate, protect assets from nursing homes, and reduce taxes. But you know what? The family behind the estate plan can be more important. And so the trusts live on after you die, and you can have language in there that divides the assets to the children, but doesn't just pay it out, right? It holds it in trust for them and allows them to be trustee, but just not take it. In order to get it, they have an independent trustee that can say yes or no. And that way, by not owning the asset, if they get divorced down the line after you're dead, and the other side says, hey, I want half of what's in that trust, you're going to say, that's great, but you have to ask the independent trustee. So it's now not going to be available to you. And more than just the ability to say no, it's the fact that you don't own it. So if you don't own it, it's not a marital asset to begin with, so it should not be even subject to the divorce. So learning how your trust works after you die can oftentimes be more important than when you're living, and it does more for you after you die than when you're living sometimes.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they've written a brand new guide called How to Leave Assets to Your Beneficiaries. To get your free copy of this comprehensive guide that will help you determine the best way to leave assets to your family, simply call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
After notching fresh record highs yesterday, markets today are pulling back slightly as corporate earnings season continues to chug along. Wall Street's also navigating ongoing uncertainty around U.S. peace talks with Iran. Right now, the Dow is down about 0.1%. S&P 500 also down about 0.1% or 5 points lower. NASDAQ down over 1/3% or 86 points lower. Russell 2000 is down nearly 0.2%. 10-year Treasury yield flat at 4.294%. And oil up about 0.5%, trading at $93 a barrel. American Airlines is the latest carrier to reduce its 2026 earnings forecast, citing a surge in fuel costs, adding to its expenses this year. However, the stock is up by 4%. Southwest Airlines also said its full-year profit guidance was at risk as a result of higher fuel costs. Shares are down by 1%. Meanwhile, Tesla stock is off over 4% after the EV maker beat first quarter earnings expectations. However, the company said it plans $25 billion on capital expenditures this year as it pursues its AI ambitions. Elsewhere, IBM reported rising revenue and a higher profit in the previous quarter. However, the tech firm disappointed Wall Street by keeping its revenue guidance unchanged, sending shares down by 9%. Honeywell down by 1% after posting mixed first quarter results and an underwhelming second quarter guidance. And after today's closing bell, Intel will report their first quarter results. Procter & Gamble will report tomorrow morning. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. Go ahead.
That means it's my turn?
Yep.
Sorry, I was trying to fix the mouse on the computer.
Pesky mice.
It, just wasn't going well. We'll see how it goes from here. U.S. officials try to get a grip on risks bubbling inside private credit. Paul, how does a risk bubble? Is it similar to soup, or is it more of like a...
Soup.
Soup bubbling?
If it's on a boil.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're dining on soup, it's not boil. It's not bubbling.
You don't eat the boiling soup?
No.
Okay,
not good for the tubes.
Okay,
you know?
I got to be honest. Can we have a brief digression on this?
Absolutely.
I don't understand hot drinks. Anytime I try, now look, I'm not a coffee guy. Okay, so but that's a separate thing.
Yeah, very separate.
It's a snowy
it
day.
It is the biggest beverage in the hot drink department, but okay.
But my kids are 3 and 6, and so on a snowy cold day, it's hey, let's come inside and have hot chocolate.
Yes,
sure.
And
staple memory,
boiling hot.
And so I'm like, okay, so now it's in my cup, but if it's hot enough that I want to drink it, it burns my mouth. And once it gets below that temperature, it just tastes like crap because now I'm just drinking warm chocolate. And as much as I love chocolate, I just don't enjoy that in a drink. So, how do you guys actually drink hot drinks?
I'm with you on this. Not as dramatic as you are in terms of being out on them entirely, but I feel like there's a very tight window of what is an appropriate temperature that you can drink it and not burn your tongue and not just let it go room temp cold. And just at that point, you're probably better off with an iced coffee. I'll use that example because I definitely consume a ton of that in that department. But because of bad experiences that I've had, like many others, of burning my tongue on hot cocoa or on hot coffee.
Yeah.
I side with you. As much as I get it here in the office, I let it sit on the thing for a while.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, Tucker really doesn't love it.
What the hell's he doing with
Okay, why can't you just move it? Why does people get... It's not like it's my claim there. You just slide it right there and I'll come and pick it up.
Yeah, but nobody wants to touch your beverage.
Wait, you just leave it you leave it like in the kitchen?
No,
for 5 minutes.
You just bring it back to your desk and leave it there?
I'm glad Paul brought this up.
Oh, great. Here we go.
Chuck, he comes in. I've noticed this, Paul. You come in.
You don't say.
You do the Keurig thing.
Yep.
And no one's poisoned you?
That's the other thing. You're very trusting
right,
of other people in the office.
I carry my drink with me at all times. I'm very worried about poisoning.
I thought we were a family in here.
It'll do the Keurig. It'll do the Keurig brew thing. But then Paul just leaves it sitting there for like 10 plus minutes.
On it or next to it?
Literally on it, so nobody else can use the Keurig.
Well, they could
because Paul has claimed that territory.
They can
for
move
10
it.
minutes.
They can move it. Just
but
put
nobody
it down.
wants to touch your drink, dude.
Why?
Because it's not polite. Like if somebody moved my beverage or my lunch, like I would be like, "Ugh, don't touch my stuff."
I'd be like, "Oh, someone poisoned it."
Yeah,
like you drink it first.
Throw that coffee out. He clearly sneezed in my coffee.
Right?
I don't have those fears. I'm a trusting guy.
Very worried about poisonings.
Quote me on that.
So I can't do hot drinks.
I'm very much in the camp of like hot coffee in the morning, reheat coffee for 30 seconds to make sure it's like piping hot. Same thing with my dinner.
But
Same
how do you
thing
like
with
drink
tea.
it so that you can taste it then? Like how does it work?
This just goes down, man. Gets rid
Never
of the
worried
germs,
about getting
you know?
burned?
No. I know when it's too hot. That's the tongue test. Tip of the tongue, They're like, oh, I can't do that.
You have to proceed with caution.
Yeah,
it's got to be piping hot for me.
Yeah, I've got a very sensitive tongue. I can't do that.
617-362-1385. Do you take your coffee hot in the morning?
I'm going to get my own Keurig in my office. Screw
You should.
else.
Yeah. Screwing everybody's morning up.
Private credit. Bubbling like hot coffee or not?
Just as bad as my Keurig practices private credit. Now, the SEC is investigating private credit. Honestly, there is not any development here other than they're investigating it. They could investigate it and they could come back with no fines or no issues with the space in general. But what has been going on is it's swelled to be a $3 trillion industry, and there has been a just significant amount of redemption requests over the course of the first quarter of this year and trickling into probably the second quarter as well, where investors have sought to pull about $20 billion from these private credit funds. They're known for being opaque. They're private credit. You don't really have a lot of information in terms of what underlying loans look like. And when you have retail investors pooled into that space, oftentimes when there is concern, like there is and a lot of scrutiny on an industry, they tend to run to the door the quickest and ask for their money back. But private credit has redemption limits in place where you can only take 5% out of a given fund on a quarterly basis. And so that creates the issue that we're dealing with right now. Many of the other investors in private credit are much more long-term and perpetual in nature. Think pensions, endowments, and other institutions. But the retail exposure, and this is the concern with having private alternatives within a 401k plan, is that typically retail investors are the first ones to bail when there are signs of trouble. And that is being sort of played out here within private credit in terms of all the drawdowns that we've seen.
Take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the stuff being talked about as it relates to Spirit Airlines and their future. And then we're also going to talk about Kalshi trying to say, hey, all you Congress critters, get off our platform. All that right after this.
The Financial Exchange streams live on X. Stay on top of the markets and get live reaction as it happens. This is the Financial Exchange. Leaving assets to your family may sound simple, but you need the right plan. Cushing & Dolan's new guide is called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. Protect your assets and control your family's inheritance. Call 866-848-5699 and request your free guide today. That's 866-848-5699 or request the guide online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. The DAV of Massachusetts has helped me and countless others adjust to civilian life through a variety of incredible programs. Through our local Veterans Assistance Program, we provide necessary services to veterans and their communities, such as food shopping, landscaping, and companionship, but we need your support. You can help by making a donation today. Please visit dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Organization can make a big difference when life takes an unexpected turn. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Having your most important information all in one place may help the people you trust handle critical financial or legal decisions if a crisis occurs. We've written a new guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. In it, we offer strategies that can help you coordinate the most vital details of your life, including key contacts, legal documents, and property information. Our goal is to provide you with a clear plan for the people you trust if they ever need to help manage a life-altering situation. Call 800-393-4001 right now and ask for your free guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Ayanna Pressley are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
Text us 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we're covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts, registered today for this year's DAV 5K on Saturday, November 7th at Fort Independence on Castle Island. If you're not able to participate, you can still support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. Your participation helps provide vital services like free transportation to medical appointments and safe housing for single veterans and their families. Donate today at dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
Wall Street Journal exclusive inside the White House deliberations over rescuing Spirit Airlines. And basically what it is talking about here is Spirit, as we know, has had all kinds of financial problems since not being allowed to merge with JetBlue and or Frontier several years ago. Basically, they're just not big enough to compete with the other players in the space. JetBlue may be following them in this direction within the next couple of years as well. They're just not big enough to compete with companies that were allowed to merge in the previous decade. And so the question is, okay, what do you do with this? And the Wall Street Journal reporting is that it basically is you've got two White House insiders that are trying to figure this out. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick saying, hey, we can come up with a deal where we can basically say, look, we'll lend you up to $500 million, and in return, we are going to get warrants to potentially own a large portion of the company.
Yippee.
On the other side, you have Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying, hey, this doesn't really make a ton of sense. It might save some jobs in the short term, but now you're going to get stuck owning an airline as the U.S. government. Why do you want to do that? And what does that do to the competitive balance of airlines in the country then? And so ultimately, look, here's the deal. Airlines do get bailed out on a pretty regular basis.
Right.
Not regular basis. I don't want to make it seem like it's an everyday thing. But back in 2020, during the pandemic, they received tens of billions of dollars.
Yep.
And we remember it and we talked about it and we were like, okay, I understand the why of you can't have air travel as a whole break down, but is this the best way to do it? And we went through those conversations. So we sit here today and, okay, you've got a company that is failing. Why does Spirit Air, it's not like the entire aviation sector is being bailed out. It's, hey, Spirit can't exist in a world where these larger airlines are able to dominate the space. What's the deal? Why do we need Spirit Airlines to still be here?
That's what I'm trying to determine. First of all, I'm on Duffy's side of why would you bother just trying to take an equity stake in an airline company as a government? It's from a long-term perspective, it's just an awful track record of owning these companies. Yeah, you can make money in the short term. I get it. And Southwest, there's been some exceptions to that, but broadly speaking, it's a really hard business. We were just talking about really hard businesses before. It's low margin, high fixed costs, and it's sensitive to shocks like the one we're having right now. And so I don't know if that's the approach. The only argument I could make, the jobs piece, less on that side, that you want to keep continued competition in the markets, and Spirit provides that low offering
but they don't.
for travelers, but now they can't compete. So what does $500 floating them $500 million really do? Then probably just delay the inevitable. It's not like this is going to enact some turnaround plan for them entirely. So ultimately, you're probably just better letting the free market dictate the terms and letting them go to bankruptcy, because the U.S. government shouldn't pick up buying them or lending them when no other competitor wants to buy them.
Well, look, Tom Cotton makes a good point on this. This is a quote from him in the piece. If Spirit's creditors or other potential investors don't think they can run it profitably coming out of its second bankruptcy in 2 years, because again, this was not originally supposed to be a liquidation. This was supposed to be a reorg, and they're basically at the point now where the creditors are like, no, this isn't going to work. Cotton says, then I doubt that the U.S. government can make it work either. Not the best use of taxpayer dollars. Yep. Again, it makes sense. If you want to allow the market to do its thing, then companies that don't run businesses that are profitable don't really have a place continuing to exist. And again, it's not like Spirit fills some niche. It's not like they make the guidance systems for, military-grade technology. They take people really cheaply from Boston to Atlantic City. I know that's a slight exaggeration, but that's only because they go from Boston to Myrtle Beach. Also,
I think I have heard those before.
I've done the Boston to Atlantic City flight.
Yeah, I think I have.
Trust
done that
me,
one.
it's great when you're 23 years old and need a $40 flight.
Exactly.
It's totally fine.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's not good business because that person gets back on the plane and doesn't have any money left after being in Atlantic City, and so they're not going to pay for another flight. So, look, ultimately, I'm a big believer in you want as much competition as possible, but part of competition is that sometimes you lose. Like, that's just how it is, and it sucks. It's not fun. It's awful that you're going to have people losing jobs as a result of the company going out of business, but if there's no risk of a company going out of business, then what are we actually doing here? You know, if it's just going to be, hey, federal government can pick winners and losers, let's close up shop, call it a day, and that's going to be it. Because then it's not really about how good your product is or how good your business is. Then it's about nothing more than who do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of doesn't really work for competition. Like, that's not competition. It's just not. Sorry. Let's see. Kalshi.
Speaking of competition.
Great story here. So, Kalshi said that it suspended and fined 3 candidates for Congress from Minnesota, Texas, and Virginia for political insider trading activity on their own campaigns.
They had definite insider information there.
So this is wild. So again, you've got 3 people that they're not in Congress right now, but they announced either recently or, a little while ago that they were running for Congress. And basically what happened is they traded based on their own candidacy and whether or not it would happen, which, again, not really surprising that in a really, not closely regulated market, this kind of stuff will pop up. So, again, you had this guy from Virginia, Mark Moran, who basically traded his candidacy
that he would run
twice, and obviously, you can't really do that. You can't make a market for whether or not you're going to run for Congress, bet on it, and then make money on it. That doesn't really seem like it should be allowed, and I'm glad that Kalshi is, doing something about this. Now, the candidate also...
Wait, we got to get there. What his retort is to all this.
He's basically look, I was trying to prove a point. It's I traded $100 on myself knowing this would happen. The attention would highlight how this company is destroying young men.
So you're welcome.
Oh, okay.
That's a quote from his Twitter account, by the way, folks.
Yes,
that's not just us interpreting. That's actually what he released in a statement here. And this invokes George Costanza of should I have not done that? Should I have not bet on myself?
Was that wrong?
Was that wrong? Was I not supposed to bet on myself when I knew I was going to be running for office? Just absolutely wild. And the fact that he wants to play it off that this is some bigger statement about how it's destroying young men, the predictions market, and that I traded $100 on myself. Oh my goodness. Just crazy.
So I don't know. I'm getting pretty close again to the fact that just like I am with the sports gambling, look, you want to operate a prediction market? Fine. You can't do it on your phone.
Yes, your big thing. I don't know.
You got to have a Kalshi Center in every city that you got to go into because, again, there's no barriers to scamminess stuff.
On Kalshi's front, yeah, for ssure.
It's just, again, I'm sure there's other stuff. Did you see the one about the guy who was betting on the temperature at the airport in France?
Yeah, I just sent that to you. Yeah.
You just sent it to me? Yeah. And he put a freaking heater next to the one thermometer that was measuring it so he would win. He did 3 round trips on the thing. This is all so stupid.
He's doing it to his coffee, too.
My goodness. So, I'm kind of done with the prediction markets thing. Quick break here, hour 2 coming up in just a bit.
When it comes to estate planning, many families focus on taxes, but understanding how your family will receive the assets you leave behind is just as important. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and have a new guide out called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. The guide explains decisions that may be problematic, such as adding a child as a joint donor on a real estate property, which could expose your assets to creditors or a possible divorce. You'll also learn how trusts can be used to help protect your assets and control when your beneficiaries receive their inheritance. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
One of the most helpful things you can do for your family is to make sure that important information about your life is organized and easy to find. Hi, this is Chuck Zodda from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Financial accounts, legal documents, and insurance policies are all part of a complete financial picture. When that information is scattered in different places, it can be difficult for loved ones to step in and help if a crisis occurs. Our new guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder will show you how to organize the most important details of your financial life, including key contacts, retirement plans, investment accounts, and insurance information. Call 800-393-4001 and ask for your free guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide by visiting ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive. Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. Every walker who joins HeartWalk means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative William Keating are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network. WBNW 1120 AM and W275CM FM. Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network.
When a heart stops, the clock starts. You are the first responder until help arrives. In that moment, 4 minutes equals brain damage. 6 minutes equals too late in an emergency. The first responder is you. We need you. Will you be ready? Learn CPR. Visit heart.org/nation. That's heart.org/nation.
Sometimes we know what's next. Other times, it's impossible to know. Life can change in an instant. Don't be caught standing by the next time someone's heart stops. Knowing CPR gives you the ability to act and takes you from bystander to lifesaver. CPR is a life-saving skill. Join the nation of lifesavers today by learning CPR at heart.org/nation. National support for CPR education provided by Elevance Health Foundation.
It happens all over Massachusetts.
Can you tie my shoes?
In every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Organization can make a big difference when life takes an unexpected turn. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Having your most important information all in one place may help the people you trust handle critical financial or legal decisions if a crisis occurs. We've written a new guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. In it, we offer strategies that can help you coordinate the most vital details of your life, including key contacts, legal documents, and property information. information. Our goal is to provide you with a clear plan for the people you trust if they ever need to help manage a life-altering situation. Call 800-393-4001 right now and ask for your free guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Michael Valila, Adjutant of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. We focus on the people returning from service, not their specific illness or injury. Our number one goal is to make sure our veterans have the necessary services they need, be it physical, emotional, or financial, so that their transition can be seamless. You can help our great American heroes as well by making a donation today by visiting dav5k.boston. That's dav5k.boston.
This is Tucker Silva of the Financial Exchange Show, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange Quick Tip of the Day. And today we're talking about your brand new guide, Todd, How to Leave Assets to Your Beneficiaries. Todd, why can't you just add your kids to your accounts or to your house deed?
Well, you can. It's just not a good idea. So people who do that understand with an account, right, you can put a joint name on the account. Now, that doesn't actually complete the gift because you actually have to take the money out and then the gift is complete. But when you set it up, yeah, the asset would avoid probate. But if something happens to the child, it's going to be, available. Half the asset would be subject to the children's creditor. So you don't want that. And secondly, if you only put one kid on the deed, you've likely disinherited the other kids. So it's not really good planning overall. Whereas if you put the house in the kid's name, now you've actually made a completed gift of half the house and would need to file a gift tax return, number one. Number two, of course, it's exposed to the child's creditors and, yes, divorces. You could find yourself at some point owning half your house with an ex-in-law. Not sure that's a good way to plan. So please, put together trusts. Don't just throw names on deeds or on bank accounts because, as I always like to say, nothing good comes from giving assets away while you're living.
The estate planning experts at Cushing & Dolan have been helping families like yours for more than 30 years, and they've written a brand new guide called How to Leave Assets to Your Beneficiaries. To get your free copy of this comprehensive guide that will help you determine the best way to leave assets to your family, simply call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699, or you can request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong Advisory and the advertisers heard on this program do not endorse each other or their services. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Help us support our great American heroes by visiting dav5k.boston and making a donation today. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zodda and Paul Lane.
It is Chuck and Paul, and we've got Tucker here too. And kicking things off today, market's pretty quiet to start the day. The S&P is up 3 points. The Dow's down 53. NASDAQ down 25. So not really any major movement on the surface. Under the surface, all kinds of movement, including semiconductor stocks now working on their 18th consecutive day in positive territory. Microprocessors, thank you. I don't know what the record is, but I got to tell you, it's kind of wild right now. That, again, I would be surprised if anything changes today. We're 5 days away now from semiconductor stocks as a whole, the S&P 500 Semiconductor Index, or I think it's actually the Philly Semiconductor Index. We're 5 days away from it going up every day in April. Now, I know a lot can change in the next 5 days. Like, I understand that. But it's 18 days in a row. That is insane. Yeah. I have never seen anything like this. And, again, like, someone out there can probably find the data, but I haven't been able to. But just wild what we're seeing there. Other things moving in markets. 10-year U.S. Treasury down 0.4 of a basis point. Hope you didn't put on a new shirt for that one. You've got the dollar index off 0.07 of a basis point. That's useful. Again, don't even know why we bother. Gold down 10 cents an ounce. What is this, a move for ants? Like, what are we doing here? Oil, West Texas Intermediate. It's up 26 cents a barrel. Again, I know after, the volatility we've seen, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, but I'm going to do exactly that. If you give me a horse, I'm looking at it in the mouth just to, make sure everything's okay there. It's not much movement in across major asset classes today. The big thing that we are starting to see now, the airlines are indicating, hey, these higher jet fuel prices are putting some strain on us. We're going to be canceling some flights in the coming months. European Airlines started saying it earlier this week. We've had American and Southwest report now. They're saying similar things. No specifics on cancellations, but they're saying, look, we're going to be able to pass, these higher fuel costs on to the end consumers. And the two ways that you do that are by raising prices and by basically cutting routes that are not profitable. So this is where things are going on the airline front. Piece in the Wall Street Journal talking about housing. In a slow market, some houses are still selling fast. Which ones, Paul?
The ones that are selling fast, Chuck, are recently renovated, they're priced the right way, and they have no major repairs. So basically what this piece in the Wall Street Journal is outlining is that there is a gap between homes that are being sold under or going under contract in the month of March versus the homes that are just being listed over a period of time. So homes that were listed under contract in the month of March sold in a median of 19 days. So if they were agreed upon, they were sold quickly after 19 days. However, for just general homes that were just listed during that period of time and not necessarily going under contract, the average time there for listing was about 56 days. And so that 37-day gap between markets, homes that were on the market that were sold versus the ones that were listed is the widest since we've seen in March since 2020. And really what it points to, like I was mentioning before, is that if there's the right inventory out there that is priced right, that doesn't need a lot of work to it, buyers are willing to snap that up. But if there are sellers out there who are anticipating that they're going to see the bidding frenzy that they saw in years past, or are too sort of attached to perhaps prices that neighbors had received over preceding years, then they've just seen that their homes have sat on the market for a longer period of time. And even places like Florida, which has obviously been taking the brunt of the worst of the real estate market, has seen that for the homes that do go under contract in the Tampa area, they have gone on and been sold relatively quickly. That's a small percent, but they are seeing that they move quickly if it's the right inventory.
Yeah, big thing that you got to remember on all this is that, look, pricing changes very quickly in different markets. A year and a half ago, we were talking about how Florida, you had, prices were in free fall because inventory was building and you had all kinds of issues because of that extra inventory. Today, prices aren't really in free fall across Florida anymore. They've stabilized in the last couple months. It's not to say that they're going up, crazily or anything, but we've worked through some of those problems there. Just because a neighbor had, a certain transaction a year ago, it's a very different market in a rather short period of time because of all these dislocations that we've seen. And so you need to be cognizant of that when you're talking about either buying or selling a home right now. What I can tell you is ultimately, and I was saying this last year, hey, it's going to take a couple years for things to normalize on the housing things as far as supply and demand, we are getting closer there. I do think 27 or 28, those are going to be years where you're in a pretty good spot. And there's a combination of factors there. The first is, number one, some of the big price moves are out of the way, as far as, what we've seen in Florida and Texas and things like that. Number two, people get, adapted to higher insurance rates and things like that, and they get used to seeing those instead of the sticker shock that they may have seen. The other piece is every quarter that goes by, there are fewer people with mortgage rates below where mortgage rates are today, because you always have some forced sales that happen. You got to move for work, or there's the 5 Ds: divorce, downsizing, diapers, diamonds, and death.
And Dodge.
And Dodge.
Yes, and Dodge. So ultimately, these are the things that force, different transactions to happen. And so every quarter you've got more and more people that, well, yeah, we've got our mortgage at 4%, but the company wants to move me to San Antonio, and they're going to pay for this and that, so we'll do that, and you take out the mortgage at 6.5 and call it a day. These things happen. And so what that means then is for future housing, busy housing seasons, there are fewer people that are mortgage locked that can then list and move more easily in the future. And so we're getting to a point where that's, becoming, critical mass, where it allows you to kind of get that flywheel spooled up and, okay, things really get moving there. So I think housing activity, again, this year looked like things were going to be pretty good until the Iran war started.
Yep.
And then that just combination of higher interest rates and war fears spooked the spring housing market. And so transaction volumes, they're not falling off a cliff. They're just going to be what they were the last couple of years, around 4 million existing home sales per year. I know a lot of people were hoping to see that go up to 4.5, 4.6 million. Doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. But continuing to set the stage for future years. So we'll see where things go. Quick break. When we come back, we've got trivia next.
Hear the Financial Exchange every day from 11 to noon on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. Keep it here for the latest business and financial news and the trends on Wall Street. The Financial Exchange is now live on SiriusXM's Business Radio Channel 132. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Organization can make a big difference when life takes an unexpected turn. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Having your most important information all in one place may help the people you trust handle critical financial or legal decisions if a crisis occurs. We've written a new guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. In it, we offer strategies that can help you coordinate the most vital details of your life, including key contacts, legal documents, and property information. Our goal is to provide you with a clear plan for the people you trust if they ever need to help manage a life-altering situation. Call 800-393-4001 right now and ask for your free guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. When it comes to leaving assets to your family, simplicity isn't always the best approach. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and their new guide is called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. Adding children as joint owners on accounts or property doesn't guarantee you can avoid probate. It may create serious unintended consequences. In this guide, you'll learn why leaving assets to your children may not always be the best plan. The guide also explains how trusts can be used to stagger distributions over time, help protect assets from creditors or divorce, and ensure your family receives your inheritance in a way that makes sense for your personal situation. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide, How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699, or request it online at legalexchangeshow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
It happens all over Massachusetts,
Can you tie my shoes?
in every home and every community.
Be careful on your bike.
Learning can happen anytime, anywhere.
We'll see you at practice this weekend.
And no matter how learning takes place in your family's life, DESE is there as your partner. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Never stop learning. Find out more at mass.gov/back-to-school.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department for Elementary and Secondary Education.
Here at the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are committed to all students not only attending, but succeeding at school. Your presence is powerful. Share why you attend at doe.mass.edu.
Sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Stephen Lynch are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Subscribe now to our YouTube page, where you'll find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange. We'll get you caught up on anything and everything you might have missed, right here on the Financial Exchange.
All right, time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange, and today is John Cena's 49th birthday. Cena's accolades in the professional wrestling ring pale in comparison to his greatest accomplishment, granting the most Make-A-Wishes in the foundation's history. Cena has granted over 650 Make-A-Wish requests. So our trivia question today: who has granted the second most wishes in Make-A-Wish's history? Once again, who has granted the second most wishes in Make-A-Wish's history? And I'll give you a hint. He is a world-famous pop superstar. Be the third person today to text us at 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, and you win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Once again, the third correct response to text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, along with the keyword trivia, will win that t-shirt. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Piece in the Financial Times, Paul. It's titled "High Earners Race Ahead on AI as Workplace Divide Widens." Tell me what's going on here.
This is a poll that the Financial Times did in the U.S. and the U.K. trying to get a sense for, I believe they do this on a monthly basis, the adoption of AI. And what they found was that more than 60% use AI daily for those higher income earners, compared with just 16% of the lower income earners. And so the piece goes on to theorize whether this divide that you have, that higher income workers with potentially a more sophisticated educational background are going to become more proficient or start using the technology more heavily than those in lower income tiers, and this will create this gap and divide. Something that, you know, we talked about a little bit on yesterday's program. Not overly concerned with this. I mean, the areas that it's being used now primarily are for the large language models, kind of like we talked about, replacing the search engines. So those white collar jobs, which tend to be a little bit more higher paying, whether it's a lawyer or an accountant, are going to be a little bit more apt to start using AI in terms of queries for work and things like that, versus perhaps some of the lower income earning jobs, whether it's in leisure and hospitality, services, whatever area you're looking at. It doesn't have as much use there. So I'm not really concerned greatly as this divide that they outline here is something that's concerning. Perhaps if it persisted for a long period of time, you'd be concerned. But it's supposed to democratize intelligence, and ultimately, when that occurs, it should benefit everyone. Everyone should have equal access to intelligence. Right now, it's primarily through the form of a search engine, and so as a result of that, you have white-collar workers using it more than perhaps lower-income workers who may not be in those more traditional white-collar gigs.
Want to move on to, again, like we talked about that at length yesterday. I want to move on to talk about this piece here from Bloomberg Opinion. It's titled, "Our Government is Ignoring Obvious Affordability Solutions." What are those solutions? Like, what are the obvious affordability solutions?
To me, I've been sort of frustrated by this idea that the government can step in and make significant impacts on pricing for beef, eggs, and fertilizers. You know, this Bloomberg Opinion piece goes on to say that they have the tools to reform international trade policies and reduce important barriers, but they're not championed because there's protectionist policies and other sort of concentrated benefits that don't allow for them to actually get through and diffuse costs to consumers. But my belief ultimately on this is that when you're dealing with all of these commodities, and we've seen it extensively over the course of the last 5-6 years with all the global supply chain disruptions, there's only so much an administration can do to impact pricing. If there's a bird flu that breaks out and impacts egg prices, I'm not really sure what the responsibility of the administration is to adjust that. The same thing can be said for beef or some of these other food cost areas. I'm just not sure. As much as affordability and inflation are something that is on the forefront of all voters and consumers' minds, that is the job of the Federal Reserve to use its monetary tools as best it can to try and keep that under control. But drilling down specifically to food prices, I just don't know if there can be as much impact had there.
Yeah, look, I got to tell you, governments generally do the exact wrong thing when trying to deal with affordability. They say, oh, this is too expensive. Well, let's either cap those prices or give you more money for that. And neither of that fixes it, because here's the thing. When we look at any of this, it is ultimately boiling down to where supply and demand intersect. And remember that there are multiple intersecting supply and demand curves. If we're talking about housing just as an example, you have, okay, here is the supply of housing at various prices, and here's the demand for it at various prices too. That demand curve is going to be based on supply and demand for labor. How much, effectively, it's okay, like, what are wages that allow people to buy those homes then? So ultimately, where I tend to land on this is in the exact opposite side of politicians. I guess this is nice because, look, I'm not a politician, and so if, like, I don't have constituents to get upset at me for saying or doing the wrong thing. I'm just me. And so, with that in mind, the answer on these things is not to give people more money for, let's use housing and or college as examples. If you give people more money to go to college, but colleges keep the same number of spots available, generally what happens is the cost of college goes up and it remains unaffordable because you haven't changed the supply and demand imbalance in the right way. In fact, you've just added more demand, which is why they can now fill those spots at those higher prices. Likewise for housing. A couple of years ago, we were talking about the Harris campaign proposal for, what was it, give like every first-time homebuyer like $10,000 or $25,000?
$25K, something like that, $10,000, $25K.
And I simply said, okay, great. If I'm a home seller and I know that you're giving people an extra $25,000, I'm raising my price by $25,000.
Right.
Like, that, you didn't make more homes or anything.
Not to mention you got to do that 5 years later. You know, it's just,
right, like
it's a one-time
fix. You just keep going, you know? So here's the thing. The way to improve this is to do one of two things. Number one, you can reduce demand for things. That's generally a bad strategy because it involves either taking like money away from people or B, telling them that they don't want something and like convincing them of that. It's kind of hard to convince people they don't want housing or food or things like that.
And
like,
also bad for your economy to discourage compensation. Consumption, not compensation.
Well, I mean, look, like, again, you tell someone, hey, you don't really need that food. They're going to be like, Man, what are you smoking? Like, you've got to be kidding me. No, you don't want that house. You want that nice cave. Okay, if the cave is so nice, why don't you take it then? You know, like that doesn't work. So the other thing that you can do, if you don't want to reduce demand, you can increase supply. And unfortunately, in basically every industry, because of either a lack of competition or in some cases government mandates and rules that restrict the supply of new whatever it might be, you end up with less supply of what people want to buy, and so prices and salaries get out of whack. And I'll even make a point, this is a tangential one, but in today's world, man, everyone's just got to make a return on their investment. You can't just like operate a business for the sake of, providing a service. It's got to be, well, I need it to go up by X% per year and da-da. Like no one just runs a bakery to sell bread anymore. It's all freaking PE backed,
Oh, there's a lot of that, yeah.
Think about like the childcare space just as an example, and how many like PE backed like childcare companies there are where it's like, well, like, we've got to raise the prices this year in order to get our guys out, or
it's infiltrated the trades too.
It's everywhere, right? You see these PE companies buying up like dentist office and consolidating them, like HVAC. It's freaking everywhere, and ultimately, you're not like. Get more competition into everywhere, lower barriers to doing business, and you can get rid of a lot of these conversations, in my opinion, because companies will have to do one of two things. Either A, lower their prices. Look at what's happened with corporate margins, by the way. They've gone from like 7% in the 1980s and 90s up into the mid double digits now. Okay, like where do you think that's coming from? There's only one answer. And so if you had more competition, it's going to reduce corporate profits, but also it's going to drive up compensation because you can job hop more easily to other competitors. More competition is basically my answer to everything. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we got the trivia answer in Wall Street Watch.
Bringing the latest financial news straight to your radio every day. It's the Financial Exchange on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Our Senators Edward Markey and Elizabeth Warren and Representative Lori Trahan are standing up for radio listeners like us by supporting legislation to keep AM radio in cars. They know the value of local radio in times of emergency. Now it's time for Congress to finish the job and pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Learn more at dependonam.com. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Is it a stroke? Even if you're not sure, act fast and call 911. Signs can include face drooping on one side, arm weakness, speech difficulty, or not making sense when talking. Time is critical. A stroke requires immediate medical care, which starts as soon as the ambulance arrives. So if you see any sign of stroke, act fast and call 911. Visit mass.gov/stroke, sponsored by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health.
Sudden family emergencies can create confusion, especially when important information is scattered across different accounts. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. When something unexpected happens, loved ones may need quick access to legal documents or financial accounts that could affect your future. Our brand new guide is called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. It'll help you learn how to organize the information your family may need one day. Everything from emergency contacts and identification documents to bank accounts and retirement plans. The goal is to create one clear roadmap so that people you trust can quickly find what they need if a crisis occurs. Call 800-393-4001 and request your free guide, Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001 or request the guide online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. When it comes to estate planning, many families focus on taxes, but understanding how your family will receive the assets you leave behind is just as important. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law and have a new guide out called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. The guide explains decisions that may be problematic, such as adding a child as a joint donor on a real estate property, which could expose your assets to creditors or a possible divorce. You'll also learn how trusts can be used to help protect your assets and control when your beneficiaries receive their inheritance. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699. Or request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. Mike, when we talk about the type of information that should be in there, what kinds of things should people be including so that a loved one or family member can help to keep their finances in order?
Yeah, I think, on the financial side, it's what do I have and where is it?
And how do I get access to it?
Right, and so that can mean getting access to online passwords and things along those lines, but obviously how you share this stuff is extremely sensitive given the threat to being breached down the road. And so mainly it is, though, what is the snapshot of my financial, health, and legal life, and how do I format it in a way that people can actually interpret it?
And I think another piece there is that is also always changing. How do I let people know what changes I've made and when I've made updates to it? Because I might not have the same accounts that I used to.
Right, and the guide does lay that out of, hey, how do I document changes in here? Because you might not always have that old account at said financial institution. It could change, it could shift, you might retire, and keeping this thing up to date is critical. Obviously, the more stuff there is out there, the more complicated this becomes, and so as much of it as you can check off the list while you're still around and able to explain it is extremely helpful.
The guide, again, is titled Building Your Emergency Financial Binder, and there are two ways that you can request it. The first is by calling 800-393-4001. The second is by going to ArmstrongAdvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or visit ArmstrongAdvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch, tracking the stocks, the data, and the headlines driving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Markets are now mixed as corporate earnings season continues to move along. Wall Street's also navigating ongoing uncertainty around U.S. peace talks with Iran. Right now, the Dow is only off by 27 points. S&P 500 is up 8 points, or about 0.1%. NASDAQ dipping by only 4 points. Russell 2000 is up about 1/3%. 10-year Treasury yield flat at 4.292%. And oil up about 0.5%, trading at $93 a barrel. American Airlines is the latest carrier to reduce its 2026 earnings forecast, citing a surge in fuel costs, adding to its expenses this year. However, the stock is up by 4%. Meanwhile, Tesla stock now down 2% after the EV maker beat first quarter earnings expectations. However, the company said it plans $25 billion on capital expenditures this year as it pursues its AI ambitions. Elsewhere, IBM reported rising revenue and a higher profit in the previous quarter. However, the tech firm disappointed Wall Street by keeping its revenue guidance unchanged, sending shares plunging by 8%. American Express reported a higher first quarter profit on the back of continued spending from upper-income customers. Amex shares are down by 3%, and after today's closing bell, Intel will post their first quarter earnings. Procter & Gamble will follow tomorrow morning. I'm Tucker Silva, and that is Wall Street Watch. And in the previous segment, we asked you the trivia question: who is granted the second most wishes in Make-A-Wish's history? John Cena was number 1. Justin Bieber is number 2. Doug in Wilmington, Mass. is our winner today, taking home the Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. Congrats to Doug. And we play trivia every day here on the Financial Exchange. See complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
Tuck, you a big Bieber fan?
No. I mean, I just don't listen to his music. That's all.
I've become pro Biebs as I've gotten older. So,
I'm with it.
You know,
It's got some good songs.
I just don't listen to any pop music, really.
That's fine.
I'm so cool.
Yeah, I know. Very alternative. Let's talk a little bit.
Rage Against the Machine.
Tool, man.
Let's talk a little bit about this story out of Meta from yesterday. So they have a new employee tracking tool called the Model Capability Initiative, MCI, if you are keeping track at home. And the goal of this is to basically capture employee keystrokes and mouse clicks on different websites and services to figure out how they use them. Now, a couple things on this. First, this is dystopian, but not in the way that you think it is. It's not because they want to know who's spending the most time on
ESPN,
Wikipedia, or
yeah.
ESPN. It's because they want to know how humans are using different websites and pieces of software so that they can use that in order to train AI agents to do the same thing. So you've got Meta staffers that are upset about this because they're like, well, like, you're just watching us all the time, or like it's going to be a security risk, or our personal information's going to get out, or... Guys, it's simpler than that. They're just trying to replace you.
Yeah.
They're just trying to replace you. And the reason why this is the case is that ultimately, what any AI system needs in order to actually do what you want it to do is what's called context, which, look, it's no different from how we think of context in our own lives. If I'm watching a basketball game and I see someone, score a basket, I don't immediately sit up and cheer as loud as I can because I know that it's the first shot of the first quarter and there's a long game ahead. Yeah. I have that context. An AI system watching its first game of basketball ever and being told, like, hey, cheer when something good happens, would be like, yeah, like, you scored. And it's like, dude, there's like 48
there's
minutes
100 more
left.
points to go on each side.
Let's take it easy. So context, when we talk about, computers, is, okay, what do I need to use? Why do I need to use it? And the idea is that just through watching the actions of employees using these different sites, then you'll be able to have computers infer, okay, when I go to this site, here's the common workflow, and here's what I do, and here's why I do it, as opposed to having to tell them in written instruction to do so. So ultimately, this is because all these AI systems are learning that context is king. Again, not content, but context. This is where this is going, is how can I get as much context into the AI system as possible, as cheaply as possible, so that I'm using less compute power to actually get what I need done.
Yeah, that I think is a great summary of what's gone on here. I'd like to step back on a bigger point with Meta in general is they're making a huge push, obviously, to catch up to some of the big players in the foundational model business. Yeah. And I just wonder if that's the way that they should be playing it. They get a tremendous amount of benefits from AI today. I think that's worth making that distinction, that all of the algorithms and the information put together for suggested ads on your profile, on mine, on Instagram, whatever else out there, they've been using them for years and for great success and have been very profitable doing so. But this idea of chasing the foundational model, they've already had a couple failures. The metaverse, how's that going? I don't know if that's still even active or how real estate prices are doing.
They killed it, man.
They're doing there. But I'm just not sure. They built their business on the backs of the internet revolution and just this business that was extremely easy to scale their amount of users, to build a network that was unparalleled in terms of what we've seen. They built the social network. And now to do this intensive CapEx spend to build out a foundational model against other peers that have made significant inroads in the space, I'm just not sure if that's the way that they should be playing it rather than just leveraging the technology to their existing networks.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason why people have loved these tech businesses for the last 15, 20 years is because they didn't require a ton of capital expenditure, and they had very consistent revenue sources that were predictable. And now you're talking about, okay, now we got to spend all this money here. Guys, I mean, look, I said at the top of the hour, look what's going on with semiconductors. They're up 18 days in a row right now. If you look at let's just look at the last week, just as an example. And I'm looking just at the tech space and what's been doing well and what hasn't. And I've got Broadcom up 7.5%, Micron up 6%, AMD up 10%, Texas Instruments up 25%, Analog Devices up 15%, Monolithic Power Systems up 14%, Microchip Technology up 17%. So that's my semi-space, right? Microsoft's up 0.5%. Even NVIDIA, again, part of it's just they're the big dog in the room, they're up 2%. Apple's up 4%. Software's getting bludgeoned. You look at other computer hardware, SanDisk is up 5%, like what you're seeing here, and what I think is interesting to watch is, the last couple of years, if we look like at the last, 3 years or so, yes, NVIDIA's been a story, obviously, like semis have, but the last, couple of years, it's been okay, like Microsoft is getting this AI boost, and Google's getting this AI boost, and Meta is too. What if the interesting feature that, we run into here is, hey, those big CapEx-intensive businesses, yeah, they might have something that can work, but, again, the semis might be telling you the thing right now, which is, yeah, you need more compute, and the rest of it's kind of uncertain if Microsoft and Google and Meta are going to make the money. And ultimately, look, as we've said all along, every semiconductor cycle ends the same way, with investors crying. Mm-hmm. Because eventually you get to a point where the CapEx can't go up anymore, and people are like, nope, we're done, and that's it. But that could be 3 months from now.
3 years from now?
It could be 3 years from now. It could be 30. I have no idea. And until the last month, again, even everyone kind of thought the AI trade was done, and then it turns out that everyone's using Claude so much that they're restricting access to it because they don't have enough compute power, and that semi-trade is just back on now.
Yeah.
So this can all change very quickly. We could get to July 4th, and it's hey, Claude's got enough compute power now, and we're good. Mm-hmm. I have no idea how this is going to go, but what I can tell you right now from what the market is saying is, yep, there's still not enough compute power there, and all these companies that are spending on it, yeah, they might make some money on it, and they're going to need to if you want that CapEx to continue. But for right now, everyone's just looking at the lack of compute power and saying that's what matters today.
Yeah, who's supplying that compute build out?
And eventually people are going to ask, okay, can you make money off of this? We're going to have to figure that out. But that's the market saying, don't worry about that today, worry about that tomorrow. Quick break here. We've got Stack Roulette next.
The Financial Exchange streams every day live on YouTube. Subscribe to our page and follow the markets all morning long, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. When it comes to leaving assets to your family, simplicity isn't always the best approach. Cushing & Dolan are experts in elder law, and their new guide is called How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. Adding children as joint owners on accounts or property doesn't guarantee you can avoid probate. It may create serious unintended consequences. In this guide, you'll learn why leaving assets to your children may not always be the best plan. The guide also explains how trusts can be used to stagger distributions over time, help protect assets from creditors or divorce, and ensure your family receives your inheritance in a way that makes sense for your personal situation. Call 866-848-5699 right now and ask for your free guide, How to Leave Assets to Beneficiaries. That's 866-848-5699. Or request it online at LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Organization can make a big difference when life takes an unexpected turn. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group. Having your most important information all in one place may help the people you trust handle critical financial or legal decisions if a crisis occurs. We've written a new guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. In it, we offer strategies that can help you coordinate the most vital details of your life, including key contacts, legal documents, and property information. Our goal is to provide you with a clear plan for the people you trust if they ever need to help manage a life-altering situation. Call 800-393-4001 right now and ask for your free guide called Building Your Emergency Financial Binder. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request it online at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Environmental nonprofit Ocean River Institute is working with communities to tackle climate change with nature-based solutions that feature slowing water down and building more soil with grasses and plants. Research indicates that people acting in their own neighborhoods can build an inch of soil in a year and slow sea level rise down by as much as 25%. Please visit oceanriver.org for more information on opportunities to make a difference and go the distance for savvy stewardship of a greener and bluer planet Earth.
As a busy mom to 4 kids, my to-do list is full.
Trying to fit in exercise, eating right, and prioritizing self-care can feel next to impossible.
While we can't add more hours to the day, we do have a great resource to help.
Go Red for Women has easy tips, tools, and information to help you and your family live a healthier life.
So to all the moms, the aunts, the grandmothers, and amazing women out there doing it all,
visit goredforwomen.org/momlife today.
You take care of them, Go Red for Women will take care of you.
In a heartbeat, you could be the difference.
Mark collapsed from cardiac arrest.
9 out of 10 people who suffer cardiac arrest outside the hospital don't survive.
It took 30 minutes of chest compression to finally feel a pulse.
Most of the time, it's because no one nearby performs CPR. But together, we can change that. Extraordinary things happen when people take action. A small step, a simple skill, a life-saving moment. HeartWalk brings communities together to create health and hope for every heartbeat. Every walker who joins HeartWalk, every dollar donated, means more people trained in CPR, more research, and more life-saving moments for everyone. Take the first step and register for your local HeartWalk. Extraordinary starts with you. Join HeartWalk today. Find your local HeartWalk at heartwalk.org.
Stay connected between shows. Follow the Financial Exchange on Instagram for daily clips on business news from New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange.
Before we get to Stack Roulette, wanted to have a follow-up text to our conversation last hour, which was about how Chuck just doesn't understand hot drinks.
Yeah.
So we had a texter out of the 508 text us to the number 617-362-1385 with the correct way to make hot chocolate. Okay? It's to dissolve a teaspoon of Dutch processed cocoa in 6 ounces of eggnog and heat it up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit in the microwave. Not too hot, and of course, eggnog is just an excuse to drink melted vanilla ice cream. That is a tasty method. That sounds delicious.
How do you know how warm you're heating it in the microwave? You can't put a thermometer in there. It'll blow up.
Well, no, you would gauge the amount of time you're heating it up in the microwave, take it out, and then put a probe in and see what it comes in at.
It feels like I got to do a lot of work to get there.
Well, you know, you're very picky with your hot chocolate, and this is a solution that the listeners...
I'm not picky with it. I just don't do it. I'm just like...
You're just a chocolate.
Girls, you can have the hot chocolate.
Just
it's
chocolate.
fine. Like I'll sit here and just eat the chocolate bar.
Gotcha.
It's fine.
I just wanted to pass that text along.
The Dutch process, by the way, was developed around 200 years ago, just so you know.
Oh.
By, as you would expect, Dutch chocolate makers.
Oh, I thought it was 175.
175.
175.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I thought that was a guess on the price of chocolate.
Possibly.
But,
how did we get the microwave to 150? Forget it.
Huh?
Was it like 150 degrees
Okay,
Fahrenheit?
hot chocolate.
As long as we're doing this.
Yeah, but the microwave needed to get there.
Right, but you'd be like, okay, let's see what a minute...
building in a city.
That's pretty high.
And the rule, if someone happened to, lose the game or whatever, you had to do what was called a hot beer, which was you take it, pour it into a cup, put it in the microwave for 36 seconds, 1 second for every floor that you were up, and then you had to chug the beer after it came out of the microwave. Don't know how hot it got, but that was the appropriate amount of time.
Oh, God.
And so you had to do a hot beer.
I feel like that would do something chemically to the beer.
It did, actually. The interesting thing, I don't know how, I'm sure some physicist will be able to tell me this, but the microwaving got rid of the carbonation, so it actually went down pretty easily.
I was going to say that probably had prompted your concerns on hot drinks, but
No,
I guess
the
not
hot
too
beer
bad.
was fine. It was fine. Haven't done one in a while, but
Yeah, accelerates aging. when you heat up beer.
Yeah, it's like you're drinking an aged beer. That's exactly it. What do you got for me, Paul, for Stack Roulette?
We've got less business travel these days, Chuck. People aren't getting out there and hitting the roads on those business trips. Companies are cutting back on travel. We've seen that over the course of the last 6 years or so, really post-COVID, that we've had a significant drop-off, 6 years straight, of American companies green-lighting fewer domestic business trips, and they're budgeting less money for those trips in travel across the board. And the interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal sort of arguing the merits of business travel, and certainly it's not really part of our industry. I guess we do travel to different Oslo locations, but not flying around the country. That face-to-face exposure, I still value quite a bit. I do feel like it is important when you're meeting with clients to try and see them face-to-face. You don't have to. Certainly Zoom's made it a lot easier to do it remotely, but for some businesses out there, it is important to have that exposure. And this, given the fuel costs that we're seeing now and airfares, it seems like it's going to be a continued trend. We're sort of the millennial generation of working and traveling for business. They're just not seeing nearly as much on the corporate travel side of things. They're really trying to rein in those expenses, and this is probably a direct, impact from COVID that we saw.
Folks, want to talk to you about the retirement planning seminar that the Armstrong Advisory Group is going to be hosting a week from today. That's right, just 7 days from now on April 30th. There's going to be a retirement planning seminar discussing Social Security and Medicare essentials at 5 p.m. until 6:30 p.m. at the Crown Plaza in Woburn, Massachusetts. There is still a little bit of space available, so if you want to sign up, you can go to armstrongadvisory.com/events. You can email contact@armstrongadvisory.com, or if you're more of a phone person, you call 800-393-4001. Again, this is a retirement planning seminar focusing on Social Security and Medicare essentials. It's at 5 p.m. next Thursday, April 30th. Go to armstrongadvisory.com/events or call 800-393-4001 to sign up.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
All right, so every so often you get a piece like this where it's like, okay, this is just, completely out of touch with how humans have operated for thousands of years. Drinks are so expensive that grown-ups are pre-gaming like they did in college. And basically it's saying if you go to a major sporting event or a concert now, it costs like $15 to $20 for a drink, which is true. The fact is, I can remember the stories of, my grandfather's brothers and stuff that used to bring drinks into Yankee Stadium back in the 40s because they brought their flask in and this and that. And this piece is trying to make it seem like this is new because people are talking about hey, how do you hide a flask in your clothes on Reddit? No, this has been going on as long as there have been big places to watch people run into each other.
Tale as old as time.
I'm sure that if you went back into the Colosseum 2,500 years ago, there were Romans being like, Jimmy, you got the bag of wine? Yeah. I got a full sheepskin of it under my coat. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's how, I'm sure that this is exactly how it's always been. Because even when I was a kid, again, you go back to the 1990s, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure that if you looked at a beer at Fenway Park then and it was $7, people would be like, man, what a ripoff. $7
I could
for
get
a
it
beer?
for $3 or $4
Right,
somewhere
I get that for $2, at the bar across the street. Well, okay, I get this is how it's always been.
Yeah. The one area I did one semester studying abroad in Europe, and they're not about having drinks at the house before. They're much more going to local places and purchasing drinks there.
Oh yeah, the pubs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, mine was different area, but yeah, it's I feel like very much in the United States that's always been our MO, is to try and do anything that we can to avoid paying those crazy prices at any major sporting event.
I mean, guys, that's why the Boston Tea Party happened. Okay, people forget. Actually, it wasn't. People always forget. The Boston Tea Party happened because the English government lowered tariffs on tea coming into the U.S. so that the Dutch East India Company could ship tea more cheaply than the smugglers could smuggle it. was a bunch of Boston smugglers that got upset because they wouldn't have a market anymore. You're welcome. Let's take a quick break, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.
When it comes to